So yeah, I apologize for disappearing on you guys for a little while. Truth is, I really just needed to wait to see a good movie because after I experienced the dumpster fire that was the Emoji Movie, it was needed. I needed to wait for a good movie. So Wind River wasn't a movie that I necessarily knew a whole lot about, but it was getting good reviews, and I really wanted to get back to the movie theater, so use this weekend as an excuse to see it. So Wind River takes place in Wyoming, where it is freezing cold. It's a lot of snow. Where they are in Wyoming is basically the middle of nowhere. Not a whole lot really goes on. One of the main characters in this movie is Jeremy Renner. What he is a big game hunter. He's someone who goes out and hunts down animals that are killing livestock, causing problems for humans. That's basically his job. And one day when he's out on the job, he runs into the dead body of this 18-year-old girl, and immediately everyone around the town believes this is murder. I mean, granted, they all bring up how, you know, she ran out barefoot in the middle of the night where it is freezing fucking cold. And, you know, at that point, she ran out, her lungs gave out, she drowned in her own blood because of the cold and because of the energy that she needed to run from point A to point B. But everyone out there, particularly Elizabeth Olsen, who's an FBI investigator, she has come in to, you know, check this whole thing out. And she is very quick to say, no, there's more to the story. I think this was a cause of murder. Maybe not directly someone killed this girl, but someone drove her to run out here in the middle of the night where she was basically going to run to her death. And now we have what is technically a crime mystery movie with a lot of drama thrown in here. And it's a very well done movie, I must say. For starters, Jeremy Renner, Elizabeth Olsen, they both do a very good job in this movie. I actually thought it was pretty cool to see Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch in a non-Marvel movie together. Jeremy Renner in particular really stands out in this movie. I really feel he has proven himself to be one of the better actors in the business today. Because what I really love with his story is his motivation to wanting to help Elizabeth Olsen in discovering what really happened to this girl. And that is the fact that he himself lost his own daughter when she was around this young girl's age. So it's very personal for him. There's one scene in particular, he and Elizabeth Olsen, they're going around the town, you know, asking people questions. At one point, they do come to this girl's house to speak with her father. And it's, of course, in this moment, you really see what the loss of a child does to the family. It destroys that. You really see it in her father because, you know, he feels like, you know, he's failed as a parent in the fact that he couldn't protect his daughter from dying. He's also going through a lot of other shit because his son, you know, this girl's brother, he's a junkie, he's a screw-up. He's basically estranged himself from the family. And there's a moment right here that I really love with Jeremy Renner. You know, he's able to get alone time with the father, talk to him, and he tells him, he's like, I'm not going to tell you that things get better because they never do. You will never be the same. You will never recover. That hole in your heart, it's not going anywhere. But even after all that, Jeremy Renner, he still says to the father, once you've accepted all of that, you'll be able to find peace. You'll be able to remember all the happiness that you had with your daughter, and you will be able to press on with life. Elizabeth Olsen really stands out in this movie. I mean, I never really saw her as one of like the best actresses in the business, but she really gives a great performance in this movie. I love seeing that she's so devoted and she's trying so hard to figure out what it was that happened to this girl. She so adamantly believes that a murder was caused and she wants to get to the bottom of it. But then once we get towards the final act of the movie is when the movie does something that I wasn't necessarily a fan of. I won't say that I didn't necessarily like it per se. It was just a direction that the movie decided to take, and I didn't think they were going to necessarily take that direction. We eventually see the flashback of what indeed happened to this girl. Turns out she went to an oil rig to visit her boyfriend because that's where her boyfriend works. Then one night his fellow employees, they come back. Most of them are wasted. One guy in particular is really fucked up. And this guy is just being so inappropriate. I mean, this girl and her boyfriend, they're literally in bed together and the guy's just really trying to, you know, snoop in on them. Just, he's being a dick. And finally, her boyfriend does what any guy would do. He literally he starts getting into a fight with this guy. He's like, dude, seriously, you need to back off. You need to fuck off. Just leave us alone. Leave her alone. And during this altercation, the boyfriend gets knocked out. The girl who was trying to stop this whole thing, she gets knocked out. And the asshole who was being super inappropriate, he takes this opportunity to rape this girl. I hate those scenes. I really hate seeing that stuff in movies. It's just, It's so uncomfortable to watch. It really is. Eventually, the boyfriend, of course, wakes up. He starts fighting this guy again, but eventually all the other employees, all of his so-called friends, they start getting up on him. They just start savagely beating this guy. At this point, the girl, she sees what's happening to this guy. She knows he's probably not going to get away from this, so she just takes off right into the snow, and eventually, you know, because of the cold weather, because of the condition she was in, it killed her. And the reason I wasn't the biggest fan of this flashback, if you will, is because it really just, it compromised the mystery for me a little bit. I thought it would be one of those, like, one of these characters that you see in the movie at a certain point, you're gonna find out that they did, and it's gonna be a huge holy shit moment, and then shit's gonna go down. I'm this character that raped and ultimately killed this girl. The only time we ever see him in this movie is in this flashback. You never saw him before this scene. So the mystery was all just kind of summed up in this one little flashback. I'm just like, oh, well, oh, okay. So we get back to present day. Elizabeth Olsen and the police, they've been investigating this oil rig. You know, she tried to knock on the trailer of the guy who was the alleged rapist of this girl. And then out of nowhere, he comes out with a fucking machine gun. He starts opening fire on the police. The oil rig people, they start firing on the police. Now it's a big firefight between the police and the oil rig people. Yeah, a lot of people die. Elizabeth Olsen, she almost dies, but Jeremy Renner, who was not far away, and because he's an insanely good sharpshooter, because, you know, he's a hunter, he kills a few of these oil rig guys, and then he goes after the rapist. Jeremy Renner eventually catches this guy, knocks him out with the butt of his gun, and then when this guy wakes up, he discovers that his boots are gone. He's now barefoot in this freezing cold snow. Jeremy Renner, he interrogates this guy. He gets this guy to indeed confess to raping her and basically driving her to death. And what I love is Jeremy Renner is all like, okay, you confessed, now I'm gonna give you a chance, just like I promised. And that chance is the same chance she had. You have 6 miles to get to the highway, which is where she was going. She didn't make it. She had to run barefoot. You're also gonna run barefoot. She was bleeding, you're bleeding from when I hit you in the face with my fucking gun. So guess what? You have to overcome those obstacles just like she did. The highway is 6 miles. You get there, you're free. Go ahead. I ain't gonna stop you. And what I love is we as the audience know it. Jeremy Renner knows it. This fucking asshole, he knows it too. So he runs about 600 yards and eventually he also dies. I like that the movie took that route. It was a very fitting death for this character. Make him suffer the same fate that this poor girl had to suffer. Elizabeth Olsen, she's brought to the hospital to heal from her wounds. Jeremy Renner, he goes to meet with the girl's father. He tells him, yep, I killed her killer, who was also her rapist. He's done for. He's not gonna harm anybody else. Your daughter has justice. You can now have peace. But you also need to go make things right with your son, because he's all you have now. I think that Jeremy Renner still went out of his way to tell the father that. It's like, you still have this other son. I get that he's a pain in the ass. I know he's caused you a lot of shit, but he's now the only child you have left. He's still your family. You should make it right with him. So all in all, I will say, Wind River was a very well done movie. Jeremy Renner, Elizabeth Olsen, they both did a great job in this movie. I especially love Jeremy Renner in this movie. It had solid writing, a good story, very dramatic tension in the movie. It did have a good mystery, although I will say I wasn't a big fan of the flashback because it made the mystery less compelling. But when you're on the crime investigation, you're on this journey with Elizabeth Olsen and Jeremy Renner trying to figure out what happens, it does have you very engaged, which I think is great. I will say another one of the flaws that I did have with this movie is replay value. I can compare this movie certainly to Hell or High Water because the director of this movie wrote that movie. And similar to Hell or High Water, I said it was a very well done, very good movie. It's just not something I feel I ever need to see again. Wind River, it's the same situation. I'm glad I saw it. I would recommend people go see it. It's just not something that I feel I ever need to see again. But in the end, the movie was well made. I'm really glad it turned out to be good because I needed to see something good after the shit we've been getting over the past few weeks. And also, like Hell or High Water, I wouldn't be surprised if this movie's up for a few Oscars come Oscar season. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.